for black America, it's just another year. You knew the disrespect by your elected puppeteers, but let me show you how to persevere.
What's going on, IG? Let me get y'all fixed up a little bit better over here. There we go, that's better. If you don't know who we're listening to, this is Nat King Cole. The song is Orange Colored Sky.
I thought it was like Frank.
No, Nat King Cole. The song is Orange Colored Sky, one of my favorite songs. Actually, it's a song that I share dearly with my eldest daughter, Amira. It's something that I used to sing to her when she was a baby. And to this day, if I was to see her randomly or anything, she can sing the whole song with me still. She still knows the song. So, you know, yeah. Properly brainwashed. She still knows the song to this day. Like, you was to call up and say, hey, Amira, sing Orange Colored Sky. She'll sing it. Matter of fact, she has been so properly brainwashed with that influence I had with her that she actually sung Nina Simone at her talent show. So like she's like into the jazz thing. Yeah, she's into the jazz thing. Yeah, so let me bump this up a little bit louder. Yeah, so this is Orange Colored Sky. Like I said, I'm gonna be dropping jazz clip until the end of the year at least, cause I like jazz. Yo, Marvin, what's good? What's good? You know Marvin used to be on the show all the time. My homeboy Dirk. I would play the game with. Yeah. Louisiana.
Wait, that's his
real name is Marvin.
His avatar is Louisiana.
Yeah, Dirk Diggler. But shout out to Louisiana because he's from Louisiana.
Anyway, hi Marvin. The only reason why I'm asking
Brent was good.
He said long time and no show. Only reason I'm asking is because I don't know, like I know that y'all got like Trigger Finger, Killer, Yella. So I'm like, wait, what's the real name? One of these days I'm gonna do a parody of one playing games because I'm telling you the names I hear.
Sam and goodbye. I gotta hit this part right here.
Hello.
Let's go.
Hello. Not like that,
Yo, man, I love myself from Nat King Cole. Let's go.
Hello, Mama Utar. How are you today?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I love jazz, man. Jazz is where it's at. Look, for y'all who are not listening to jazz, like this is like especially this time of the year. You know, it was like overcast today. You know, you could have been in the house that's jamming out to some Miles Davis. You know what I'm saying? I'll use the secondary name, Witch's Brew. It's actually a different name, but you know, for the sake of being PG-13, we say Witch's Brew.
I think that you like jazz, and that's great. That's obviously your dad's influence on you.
Yeah. Shout out Herman.
Who's on?
We got Brent over here on IG. I see you, Brent.
Hi, Brent.
Shout out to DMV. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, in the building. Yeah, so Brent had another engagement today, but I almost had him on the show today. We're gonna get Brent on here soon. Soon, Brent. We got you.
He's local?
Yeah. Like Brent's one of the homies.
Come on in.
That's who I was talking to after the debate. Remember after the debate? Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Hello, Papa Utar. How are you?
Oh, all right. You know what I'm saying? The family, the gangs are here. So we have a lot to talk about today. We're going to kind of cover the presidential debate. We'll just go into that and see how things feel for everybody. We got some questions for the crowd, so we want to keep it here. Marvin's hilarious. He said, I'm going to say it first. 2 liars, 1 cup. That's the... You never heard of two girls, 1 cup? It's kind of a nasty thing. But the same, it's like a play on words. But yeah,
I have heard of it, but I've never seen it before. It's a big deal in college.
Yeah, I've never seen it either, but just it's a play on words. So we got some hey fans from Brent. Herman said Clarksville, Tennessee in the house. Clarksville, Tennessee is in the house indeed. Actually, Marvin's familiar with Fort Campbell, Kentucky as well. I think at one point he was stationed out there.
Why do you say Fort Campbell, Kentucky? Isn't it Fort Campbell, Tennessee?
No, it's Fort Campbell, Kentucky because the post office happens to be on the Kentucky side of the base. So even though like 2/3, if not more of the base is technically on the Tennessee side of the line, since the post office resides on the Kentucky side of the line, it's considered Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Interesting. And the base is only for Army?
There's some Navy people stationed there, but it's primarily an Army base. It's the 101st Airborne Division. That's an Army That's the Army division, Airborne division actually. But there are some Navy and there are some Air Force stationed there. But it is primarily an Army facility.
I have a lot of ignorance when it comes to the military. Even though my brother was a Marine and my uncle was in the Air Force, that's about it. And my brother doesn't really talk about his experience much. So I learned a lot from Juan.
Yeah, so I mean, military, in the building. Shout out to all my soldiers. Actually, I got a bunch of soldiers watching right now, so that's what's up. Who? So we got a lot of ground to cover today. We're covering everything from presidential debate. We'll get into celebrities and their roles in all these protests and all these social roles, and where do celebrities take place, and how much should we value what celebrities have to say. And then we'll use that to segue into SARS, basically police brutality in Nigeria. So
don't you think it's odd that the name is SARS, because SARS used to be a global pandemic at one point?
No,
I'm just saying.
But I think I want to say SARS is like an acronym for something, because they always.
No, it is an acronym, but I would just. It's hard. It confuses people because SARS.
I guess because they start thinking like, oh, is this a pandemic situation?
Yeah, and SARS was in Africa, so it's like, okay, no, it's SARS Nigeria.
Yeah. So but we'll get into that. Herman says soldiers. Who? That's what's up. Hey Dad, I've been loving your push-up challenge for soldiers dealing with PTSD. That's what it's about, because 22 soldiers a day take their lives on average.
I've heard.
Due to PTSD and other things. So that push-up challenge is to commemorate their lives and also bring awareness to the fact that we need to deal with the mental health of our veterans. Right? So shout out to Herman for doing that. He's been faithfully doing his 22 push-ups. I think you're at day 18.
What about you?
Right?
Where your push-ups?
I mean, I guess I wasn't formally challenged, so that's what I did.
Well,
I could do it.
Okay, well, let's make it official. Papa Utar, in the comment section, can you please write, son, I challenge you to commit to doing 22 push-ups a day. Then that way he can get nice and buff with the chest for, why are you trying to get strong?
Yeah, I mean, that's a muscle already. Yeah.
Why are you trying to get strong?
I mean, the muscle's already there. Just say it. I mean,
Why is that?
I do one thing in the gym, Yeah, y'all see it. Weakling out here. I wasn't lifting people for nothing.
Funny.
I was just saying, day 18. All right, so let's cover some current news. Looks like Tory Lanez is now speaking out on the shooting with Meg Thee Stallion. Have you heard anything else about that? I didn't even really get into it.
All I heard was that he released a CD, and the CD had some songs that were kind of taking shots at Meg. People thought that was whack. He never formally apologized on social media, and that he was going to get prosecuted. That's about it.
Okay, so that's what's going on there. And I just think, hey, we need to care for our greatest resource, which is, all right, there it is. He said he challenged me to the 22-day push-up.
Now you gotta do it, Juan.
Now I gotta do it. I guess I'll start tomorrow. So
you can start today.
I'm more likely I'll start tomorrow, but I'm
you
gonna
can
do
start
it
today. What's wrong with today?
I'm gonna do it nonetheless. So, but with Tory Lanez, I think it's just important that we in a culture we protect our most important resource, and that's our women, right? And smartest subsect in America, fastest business owner population growing in America. We need to protect our greatest resource, and something we can do socially is speak out for that. Like, I don't know Meg Thee Stallion personally, but I do know it's whack to shoot a woman. So we definitely have to have that stance. We can't be like, duh. But I'm just saying, but there should be an extra protection and covering that we give to our women. So we need to express that and have that stance at all times. So definitely. Another thing in public in the news, it seemed like there was another domestic terrorist attempt. This time they caught a young man, happened to be a young white man. I think this is important to say. This is not to create further division within Americans, but this is so that all Americans know, let's be smart about how we go about going after terrorists. Instead of doing stop and frisk to African American men, and they tend to find nothing, right? That's a proven stat. That's not me just having a bias because I'm a black man. I'm just talking stats. And if they're finding that more often than not, when you see issues of domestic terrorism, if we're seeing that more frequently in white males, then there should be greater don't want to say scrutiny because I don't want to live in an environment where white men feel unsafe to go outside and walk, right? But at the same time, if we know that there's something there that maybe a current president is agitating, or if society, if there's a such thing called white privilege, we need to examine it and say, okay, well, we need to do away with it because there should be no reason why we allow ourselves to be unsafe just because we assume that if they're white, it's all right, right? So we have to go away with that because those notions still are unsafe for us as Americans. So we need to do something better by that, right? So I would challenge us to be more, proactive into protecting Americans. And if that means going after people who tend to fit the bill of description who would do things, we need to go after them. But this man was found with a van full of explosives and guns, and he was going to kidnap and kill, or at least try to assassinate Joe Biden, which is crazy. And all because people have been polarized so much during this election that people feel the need to try to kidnap Democratic politicians because they're afraid that they've been told that these folks are going to take their guns away, that these folks are a danger to their civil liberties, and honestly, that's not true. They're going to create a socialist country.
The thing is the fact that they're as bold as to say, I'm going to take somebody, kidnap them, and kill them, and that there are no consequences.
Yeah, and they feel like there should be no consequences.
That's bold.
They've convinced themselves that they're patriots. Yeah.
That's no wonder people think they're crazy. Because that's like borderline, they on the same level as Ted Bundy.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but that's what happens when you whitewash history, right? It has a consequence. So on one end, certain folks get to paint themselves in a better light in history, but then in the other hand, people get to take that literally as well, right? Mm-hmm. And then they start assuming that this land is my land.
Well, that's the name of the song, then.
Right? And, and we'll just ignore everything else and all the other contributions. And this is basically the product or the fruit of planting those seeds of discord.
And they always think about somebody needs to go back to where they came from. Don't they realize that if they were to go back, they'd be going back to
Iceland. Back to Scandinavia. Yeah. But, so I think we need to finally come together and start working on ways to build us really strong and to actually fit the branding of America, which is America is great, and we're this is this country of the free and the brave and all that good stuff. We could be that for real, but that means we have to address some things, right? Brent called them what they are. He said, no, they're sociopaths. He's not giving them a way out. He's like, they're sociopaths. Herman also from our Facebook audience said, our greatest terrorist threats right now is white men. That's real life. And that's true. Matter of fact, shout out Rashawn Ray, Dr. Rashawn Ray.
I saw his post.
He actually wrote an article on that. He did something with the Brookings Institution and stuff like that where he addressed that very issue. So, that's a real thing out there. So, that's not like, once again, that's not like a racist comment or someone trying to be insensitive. That's a real life problem here in America, and it has to be addressed. We need to do something about it. So, let's just get down to the nitty gritty, and let's get down to it. So, if you guys watch the debate, I want to get your thoughts on the debate. The first question I have to everyone is, do you feel like there was a winner? Was there a clear-cut winner in this past debate? Do you feel like Trump won? And if you feel like he won, hey, this is a safe place to have real conversation. I want to know, why do you feel like he won? If you feel like Biden won, I want to know if you feel like he won. If you just felt like we were looking at two liars, one cup, give us a thought. Give us your thoughts as to why.
I think it's hard for me to answer that because, one, Trump wasn't even answering the questions. Like, literally, they'll be like, what is your thoughts on climate change? And he'll be like, the coronavirus was due to China. And you're like, wait a minute. We just asked you a question about climate change. So for me, it's hard to evaluate who a winner is for a debate when someone's not even answering the questions directly. Furthermore, I'm not even sure what the criteria is for winning a debate. Like, I was never on a debate team like you were. So for me, it's just like they seem like they're trying to answer the questions to the best of their ability, but I've noticed that neither of them really answer it directly. It's a lot of fluff language, and it's a lot of, attacking of one another. It's not really answering the questions.
Yeah, so I can answer that. While I'm still waiting for responses. I'm curious to hear what you guys say. If you just tuning in, you're watching. We want to know, who do you think won this last debate that took place? So to go into something you said about having a history in debate team, things of that nature. In the debate team, you have a clear cut winner from the standpoint that you have a line of judges, and they're looking at how well you pose your position and defend your position against the other team, right? The only thing that kind of sucks about that this time is that what you're debating is already prearranged. Something that we've seen, I use the example of a movie, The Great Debaters. One of the issues there that they debated was, or that became one of the highlights of the movie was, what's the point of us, I'm at Fisk and they're at, Howard University. We're debating each other on what blacks need to do in America. At the end of the day, we both believe basically the same thing. What we really should be debating is someone at Howard University or Harvard University or Princeton University that may have an opposite feeling of us as far as what African Americans' place may be in society. We're talking back in the early 1900s. Follow me, right? So then it's one of those things where it's like, let's really have a debate where I truly believe this, you truly believe that. In debate competitions, unfortunately, they're not going to be set up that way. They say, hey, this school, you guys are going to defend for why we should test on rats. This school is going to defend for why we shouldn't test on rats. You may really feel the opposite, but your team was given this side of the debate, so you have to best present your case for what you're saying. And a lot of time it takes a little research in the other person's case and knowing the numbers, things of that nature. Now the thing about any kind of political debate is that the only way to really decide a clear-cut winner is based off how the people will vote. So then, since you don't have a clear-cut panel of judges and people who may have expertise in the knowledge, what happens then is it's all about the perception of what is said. I'll give you an historical example. John F. Kennedy and Nixon, when they had a debate back in, I think this was the 50s, people who saw the debate, because this was the first televised debate, people who watched it said Kennedy looked more poised, had better understanding, but a lot of it had to do with Kennedy was physically appealing to most Americans. Like, he was younger, he looked good, he looked charismatic from the camera, he did well. So people who watched it said Kennedy won. Because mind you, this is based on perception, not what they were actually talking about. Then those who heard it, right, said they felt Nixon won. They said he seemed more mature, because they're basing it on the voice, right? There's like, he seemed more mature, he seemed more knowledgeable, he seemed like he said things that I more so agree with. Plus, again, I think announcers back in the 50s were typically older white males anyways, so he seemed more resonant, his voice seemed to be more in line with what they were typically hearing, whether it was watching the ball game or catching the news. So just the experience of two different mediums changed the perception of who the winner would be, right? And that happens in debate. So then the thing is like, okay, well, who is the winner? Is it the person who wins the election? Is it the person who really had the more facts? And I think now it's a perception game. So what you'll see with Trump, a lot of the people who still follow him are kind of irrational, right? They'll believe it when he'll say things like, oh, he's done more for African Americans in this country, maybe next to Abraham Lincoln, right? And if you get caught up into the emotion of what's going on, or the one single thing you're voting on, it's easy to say, yeah, I think Trump might have been the victor. Like, I believe Trump more so than Biden. Because if you get caught up in the fact that Trump seemed more quick-witted, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Trump didn't necessarily stumble over his words. He may have lied every single time. The fact checks came out that a lot of what he said wasn't necessarily true or factual, but he was always cutting them off. Well, what about China? How much of $3.5 million? You get what I'm saying? So if you got caught into the fact that Trump seemed like he's bullying him, then you might say Trump won. If you were more into the facts or who made me feel like America is coming together, then you might say Biden won. It really depends on perception. I'll read some of the comments. This is from earlier. Herman was saying he agrees with you, Katrina. History is always, unfortunately, written by victors. Then he was saying again, revisionist history is a bad thing. It gives us a chance to see both sides of the story, victor and oppressed. Yo, what's up, Jeff? I see you joined on. But I'd be curious to see who you guys thought won the debate. So, some key notes I had taken. You watched it. I think Trump, what it is he focuses on the petty. You get what I'm saying? Like, he just...
What do you guys think? Let's see if the audience has something to think about the debate.
But no, I'm curious, you know, like, I think what it is with Trump, he focuses on the petty. You get what I'm saying? Like, he'll go back and forth about the $3.5 million. And if you saw the fact check that we posted on the Nitty Gritty show, you see that was actually false. There was no wrongdoing there with Joe Biden's son. He didn't take $3.5 million from a company. This was actually thoroughly researched and scrutinized, and it went through the system like it was supposed to, and they found none of that to be true. So that was fact checked. Then he focused so much on their families, and then Joe Biden even tried to bring it back to, well, how about American families? He called Joe, he consistently accused Joe Biden of being a politician, but he forgets that back in 2016 when they elected him president, he became a politician. And he tried to talk like he was an incumbent. Like, you guys have been doing it. You had 47 years. I can't do the Trump voice, but he's like, you had 47 years, Joe. You had 47 years. What did you do? Why didn't you do it when you were in office? And then it's kind of like, but listen, you're the guy in there. So if you recognize Joe didn't do it, if that's how you really feel.
Well, Joe was vice president. He's president.
Yeah, it's like you're president. So if that's how you really feel, why aren't you currently doing it since you hold the highest seat in the land and you have a Republican Congress? One thing people forget is that when Obama and Biden were in office, they had a Republican Congress, and then Joe said that simply. He didn't even elaborate. He said, what was the biggest thing in your way? Republican Congress. And that's true. Every bill that they sought to put out that black people would have wanted, or the American public could have wanted, more so, that seemed more like a liberal agenda, you had Mitch McConnell and the Republicans stopping it every time. People forget that happened during those 8 years. Also, Herman has some thoughts. He said Trump never expanded on his beliefs and his political agenda to reach out to undecided voters. That's a fact. I've never seen him do that. He was very pro-Republican, and it was like, if you don't rock with me, you don't rock with me, whatever. He said, I think Biden reached out more with a little more details to his agenda. And that's true. I think during this debate, I'm happy that they had a mute button. I do feel like Biden tried to make statements that said, listen, I don't see red states or blue states. I see American states, right? And I think that was an important stance that he had made. Because it's like, as a voter, you want to know, like, okay, I get it. If I didn't vote for you, how are you still going to take care of me? You're still president. It's public office, meaning you have a duty to the public while in that office. So whether I voted for you, didn't vote, voted for the other guy, you still have a right to protect my interests, because now that law, that office you hold is greater than the support you had to get you to the office. Herman also says, hey, Juan and Katrina, I meant to say revisionist history is not a bad thing. Oh, gotcha. So, you know, once again, it's one of these situations where, you know, if you're kind of paying attention to the debate, it's kind of like, I don't know. The only thing is, talking about the perception, Biden did seem a little slow at times, didn't he?
I mean, he's 70, right?
I mean, he's in the 70s, which is the average age of Congress is 70.
Yeah, but your memory goes bad by that time. So
That's true. And I think, just to put this out there for anybody who may be a suitable candidate, I hope that the Robert Whites of the world and the Will Jawandos run for that high seat one day, right? And I hope they do it earlier in their career. I hope y'all don't have to wait 20 years to get to that point. I hope like within the next 5 or 10 years, you will make that move, because it'd be good to have somebody that's a little more with it there. But yeah, Biden at times seemed like he was slurring over his speech. He was like, it's just the thing, you know what I'm saying? And I think what happened is Trump looked sharper because he was at least able to throw out his jokes. I was talking to Stephen Powell, and he was like, it was like playing the dozens, right? It's like, nah, your mama look like this, and then whoever can say it faster, you look better. The other person might have the better diss joke, but if he can't deliver it in a timely fashion, the dude that just cutting them off, you look like you're sharper than the other one. I think the other thing I noticed too is Biden, Trump. No, the thing that I had to bring up, a quick take was. And it went viral when Trump said exactly. He said the least. He's like, I'm looking out in the room, and the room is dark, so I can't see everybody. But I would like to assume, you know, I'm the least racist person in the room, right? He's like, I'm the least racist person in the bigly way. I'm the least racist person in the room, and that was crazy to me because the moderator was black. She's a black woman, so the fact that you say you're least racist
at
than
the
her.
end of the day, he's gonna go down as the most entertaining president ever.
Yeah, and then like his whole China thing.
Entertaining. He's very funny. Like you shouldn't want to laugh at him, but he's funny. He'd be like, you know, the coronavirus, it started in China. It's like, sir, why are you saying that? And he does like this with his hands.
Yeah, he's always the, you know. And I think
it feels like his hands are short.
I think what it is
like
he can't get out of the mode of being an entertainer. You know, Trump's whole billionaire run, the whole time he's been in business, he's done it from the standpoint of being like an entertainer in the process. You know what I'm saying?
He's funny.
And he's always been around a lot of entertainers. So, and he's never really, I mean, you can look at his track record. He's never been a great businessman. Like, even when they did The Celebrity Apprentice, it was kind of like them making fun of him to this idea, like, this guy is this great businessman after he didn't, like, screwed up, hotels in Atlantic City.
I find him to be funny. I don't care about that. I think President Trump is hilarious.
The only thing that's not funny about it is because he literally has, like, the American public in his hands.
I get it. It's not this. It shouldn't be funny, but
And he should have been like.
when you watch the debates, it's like this is comedy. Like,
yeah,
what?
the sad part, you can't tell the difference between the actual debates from an SNL comedy sketch.
Then we say this last 4 years. You said the same exact line 4 years ago on the Nitty show.
I did?
The same exact line.
Wow. Well, I guess it still holds true though.
Yes, because he's that comedy.
Like, you know, like everybody.
He is comedy. He like our president is so crazy. You like this is funny.
Yeah, you just can't, you know.
He said, "Can we give the moderator some props? I thought she did a good job."
She did. This was a better job at moderation than all the debates. I would say a key thing that I wish we would have had Samuel L. Jackson there.
Oh.
And I wish that mute button was working a little better. There was times where he was definitely still talking over and over talking.
Overtime.
And didn't want to stick with the issues. And I made the comment, you know, he didn't answer a single question. Like, they would ask him about the economy. He'll want to talk about the environment. They'll want to talk about clean energy. He wants to focus on fracking. You get what I'm saying? It's like, and Herman agrees with you. He says, you know, agreed, Trump is funny.
He's pretty funny.
You know, we just need to get his funny behind out of office. Okay. That's my personal opinion. And then my last little comment about the debate, and it's nothing even political, is who's doing their makeup? Because I thought both of them looked ridiculous. Is it just me or body looks pasty?
I don't know. All I know is that if you want a good, fierce makeup, honey, you need to get you a gay man. They get you all the way together.
And then what's up with Trump? I mean,
they know how to contour and get you all the way together, blending out the wazoo.
But who's telling this guy that all this orange stuff on his face and this tanning is like what's hot? We literally seen him come out the hospital looking extra pale when he got over coronavirus, right? I'm gonna put that in quotation marks. Got over coronavirus. We seen him looking at like super pale, and then come this debate time. It's like he looked like he was not in Miami but Costa Rica for like the last month.
They don't got the blending together. That's the reason why the blending is very, very important.
He looked a hot mess, man.
When it comes to blending and contouring, go to a ball. I've never been to a ball, but from my understanding, fearless, flawless.
I wonder how you guys do feel about the future of America. I'll be curious on that. Because it's just interesting with everything going on. I want to move to our next topic, which is celebrities having to speak on social issues. You kind of brought this up as a thing you feel like we should talk about. But I want to know from you guys, do you think it's possible that we can separate the artists and their artistry from their views or political stances? Do you feel like that's possible for you? Like considering, and I'll use an example, right? Consider like Kanye and 50 Cent. They're both saying they support Trump. And obviously it's for selfish interest.
And they're both very braggadocious.
Very braggadocious, and they're both supporting Trump. So do you not listen to College Dropout anymore? Do we stop rocking Yeezys? I think they're amazingly
Do we stop
comfortable.
watching Power Book?
Yeah, you know.
2.0?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, can you separate the art from or the artistry from the artist from their positions as a person?
I would say yes, I can separate it. And I would say that the pressure that celebrities receive these days, in my opinion, is a new phenomenon. I don't think there was pressure like this on our parents' generation because there wasn't any social media. So people were able to just enjoy the art, listening to the song on the radio, watching them on Soul Train, when they come and perform, that's about it. But now, because you have social media, I think people feel like they have direct access to an artist and they get to demand, you need to post about this, you need to do this and that. The thing about separating the artist, I feel I can do it, but I know that there is pressure on social media not to. Like, I know people who said, you know, I still rock R. Kelly, and people were like, I'm going to unfriend them because R. Kelly is a molester and this and the other. So there's like this underlying social pressure to follow and do what the masses are saying. And my whole thing is, at the end of the day, these artists are human. They're not going through etiquette classes like they did in Motown. They're not getting training and being a role model citizen. They by happenstance became a rapper. And just because you become a rapper don't mean that you're going to say or do things that are superhuman. You're going to say and do some crazy things based upon your perspective. 50 Cent is from New York. New York is a dog-eat-dog town, so his persona is going to always be about surviving and saying what I want and how I feel. That's just how New York culture is. Kanye West, you know, grew up in a very educated home with Donda being a professor. So from my understanding, she encouraged him to say whatever he felt as well and be a leader. I guess the point I'm trying to make is, I don't understand the social pressure for artists to do and say and act the way society tells them. And if that is the standard, who is helping to ensure that people grow to that place?
That's a good point. And I think, you know, so like, and there's something that you say two key things I wanted to kind of jump on again. One is, you said, I think the current status of social media changes a lot. Because you got to think, like Denzel, even Denzel and Tom Cruise, they're still of an old guard of celebrity that used to be like, you know, you wanted mystery to yourself. Like the Michael Jackson of the world is like, people only really saw you when you were doing the thing that you do, whether it was singing, acting. But they never really allowed you to depersonalize. Like, that's why the paparazzi was such a big thing, because people wanted to see, well, what did the celebrities eat? And what did they do? And what did they wear? You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even something that they marketed. It's like, yeah, I'll wear, you know, a Tom Ford suit for the sake of a GQ magazine spread. But personally, I'm cool with some Sears and Roebuck jeans. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to quietly do this. Now, you know, come the, you know, the Dwayne Johnsons, the Kevin Harts. You have, you know, like the Nick Cannons of the world, the Will Smiths, and these people are now readily accessible to where you know too much about them, right? And we're all up in their personal business. You get what I'm saying? So now it's like, we know they're like you said, they're so accessible, we expect maybe too much out of them, to the where like we don't even treat them like humans anymore. It's like, you too much in their business. If this was just regular people on Facebook, we'd be like, so-and-so knows you need to stay the heck about my business. You know what I'm saying? And then unfortunately, celebrities have been pinned in this situation where they don't get the right to say that. And I think what happens is we ask too much of them. And I feel like we should be more perceptive of celebrities. And what I mean by that is, like, everybody jumped on, like, for instance, like the way people jumped on Ice Cube. It's like, Ice Cube never said he was no politician. You know, but I felt like what he did wasn't wrong. He's asking the two parties, the majority parties out there, like, hey, you know, this is what I think will be a good plan for Black America. This is what I think will be a good plan for Black America. I'm going to shop at the both sides. And then, like, if you look at someone like Jay-Z, you know, we got mad when he joined forces with the NFL. But it's like, this is a person who's been making moves by aligning himself in business since day one, right? I mean, even if we think about his more shakier past, we know that he dabbled in drugs. We don't know to what extent, but we know he sold drugs in Newark, New Jersey. Then he took the money he was making from literally allowing people to stay on drugs that hurt them, and then he used that same money to help uplift his community of Marcy projects by doing a toy drive there and buying those folks turkeys. You get what I'm saying? So, like, his perception is, you know, you do what you need to do to get done. You get what I'm saying? Now, he's tried to evolve over the years, but we shouldn't be looking at Jay-Z to say, well, how does he feel about the vote? Knowing that we have folks out there like Angela Rye, you have people out there like Van Jones, Michael Steele, people who really know the political system that can educate you. And we never put the pressure on them to give us the right information. We're putting people like Jay-Z and Kanye and Beyonce in the hot seat. And it's like, well, that's not even their ministry. You know what I'm saying? They're entertainers. Just be happy that they're trying to give a pro-Black image in their stances or in their performances. But don't expect Beyonce to give up and speak eloquently like Michael Eric Dyson and give you the breakdown of HBCUs and their importance. All she knows is, I would have liked to go to an HBCU if I wasn't part of Destiny's Child. And I may have pledged this sorority. I may have been a majorette in the band. But that's the most she could give you about HBCU. She didn't take that one class. So she really can't tell you about English 1010.
But the thing is, we're asking celebrities to know all this stuff, but we don't even ask our family to know it.
Yeah, that's true.
Ray be still just as ignorant. Why does Ray get a pass?
Mm-hmm.
When I gotta ask Daquan that played for the Saints, I don't know, I'm just making up something. Now he gotta know everything there is to know about Black history, but you don't even force your family to know about it. Your family don't gotta vote, but now Daquan gotta be the spokesperson.
The spokesperson for all things. And then and then there's the question of platform, right? Because we've heard a lot of people say this. A lot of people say, well, they have a platform, and if they say they're not voting, that's dangerous because then the people who listen to them are going to do the same thing. So let's break that down a little bit, because that is a solid thought process or question. But then you got to start asking yourself real questions. All right. Okay, let's say, and this is not to beat up on Young Thug, but let's use an example. Let's say Young Thug says, I ain't voting. You know what I'm saying? I'm not with that. Okay, but why do I care what Young Thug has to say about voting? He's a rapper, and in his raps he expresses his feelings on women and street violence and drug use, and that's him telling his story. As an artist, he's allowed to write, sing, rap about whatever it is, because that's his artistic expression, right? Now, if a grown person decides, I'm going to look at Young Thug and I'm going to make him the model of my political and my business influences, then that's that person's choice, right? Now, are there better choices out there? Sure, because if you know about Young Thug, chances are you may have heard of The Breakfast Club. You get better information from watching The Breakfast Club. You may have heard about Sway in the morning. You get better information watching Sway. There are actually people out there like Killer Mike, Common, Rhapsody, who actually have the background and something of note to say about voting. But if you choose as a grown person to say, I'm going to look up to all things Young Thug, then at that point, it's like, is that really hurting us as a people? You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, because think about it. When you go for a job, if the job title says senior system engineer, they're looking for a senior system engineer. They're not looking for all things. And when you get the job, you're expected to do things that a senior system engineer does. Now, if for some reason you come to work and you don't bathe well, or if you're not well groomed, if you don't brush your teeth, or if you don't know much about money, like, no one's going to come down on you. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that we hire these celebrities to be a rapper, to be a singer, to dribble a ball. That is their job. It's a job.
And they're not required to be activists in that when it's all said and done. They're really just there to do that one thing. And if they want to take it upon themselves to do that, that's fine, you know. But I don't know if we should worry about them doing what we can do for ourselves.
But the thing is, the people are never happy, because the same people criticizing Beyonce, you know, I think her mother has spoke out. She was saying that Beyonce was bullied to speak about SARS, and what pissed her mother off, and she was like, because they were like, well, Beyonce capitalized on so many African artists. She should be the first one in line making posts and using her platform to have a voice about SARS. And Miss Tina was like, yeah, Beyonce definitely did use her platform to help amplify Afrobeats, in particular Nigerian artists. But she said that still wasn't even good enough for y'all, because y'all the same people who was criticizing Beyonce by saying, well, why didn't she pick an African artist from every African country? Why didn't Beyonce protest? And then, like her mother said, you don't even know what's going on in her life. You don't know if she's in the hospital getting ready to commit suicide or what. And you worried about a daggone post.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like the interesting thing. It's I think sometimes what happens is people get so caught up into
the post.
Yeah, the post or whatever, but it's kind of like, what are they doing to like really understand the thing for themselves? And Herman made a good point. He said Ice Cube got criticized way too much. The bottom line is he was trying to help black and brown people in our economic agenda. And that's right. And I think people need to celebrate people for being in their lane, right? It's like if LeBron wants to do more than just dribble, and he says, you know what, I see an issue in my own city of Akron, Ohio, or Cleveland, and I want to give back to that, and I want to speak out, and I want to use my platform in a very responsible manner and say, hey, look, I want to speak out on issues. He has the right to do that. But then at the same time, we can't get mad when people may not be totally informed. Like I think it was NBA Youngboy, one of the rappers, or even let's just use Kanye West as an example because everybody knows Kanye. We can't get mad when Kanye doesn't know everything that's going on, but that's not even his lane, right? So it's like we want people to use his platform, but what happens when they use their platform against us? 50 Cent, you would assume based off the show he's a part of, he's more socially aware, but then he still says I'm going to vote for Trump. Kanye West, we assume, was aware after he wrote classics like College Dropout and Late Registration, and the themes that he hints on in some of those songs, you would assume like this is a righteous brother. So then when he says stuff like I'm supporting Trump, we have the same dragon energy and all this crap he's saying, you're then disappointed, but it's kind of like, well, you're putting pressure on these celebrities to say something. Now they're saying something you don't totally agree. So it's kind of like, do you want the celebrities to always really speak out for you? And then why are people speaking out for you? We should utilize our own voice.
Well, I was going to make one comment quickly. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
What I was going to say was, I think that we are an emotional people, black people. We are moved by emotional decisions and we never think about the logic behind someone's decisions. Let's say hypothetically 50 Cent, hypothetically, I don't know, but let's say hypothetically 50 Cent wants to vote for Trump because Trump, he knows, is going to give him better tax breaks. And in those tax breaks, it's going to allow him to pay for the college education of more black kids. Are we still going to be upset at 50 Cent and say, well, you're a sellout because Trump being in office is going to affect more black people in a negative way? Or are we going to say, well, he get a pass because he is voting for the man to give him the opportunity to retain more money in order for him to help more black people? That's still a good cause. I'm not saying vote for Trump. What I'm saying is that I'm not going to be mad at someone's decision if it's rooted in something that's going to help long term. Because the reality is, we're so critical of decisions that celebrities are making, but we are relying on the Democratic Party and the government to give us social services in order to live a comfortable life. When are we going to realize it's not up to the government to help you build economic wealth? It's up to you.
That's right. And I think we need to start taking on better personal responsibility. You had mentioned Beyonce in SARS, right? And so this is kind of a cool question, and it goes along with some of what you're saying. So she did get a lot of criticism because she did the Black is King album, which is work tied to what she did with the Lion King.
It's like a compilation.
Yeah, and so she brought in a lot of African artists that were on those songs like Wande Cole, Wizkid, a bunch of others.
Iowa.
They was on this music with her, and they felt like, well, because she tried to highlight African artists, she should therefore now start speaking in on SARS. Like, a lot of people don't understand what SARS is. SARS is actually an acronym for Special Anti-Robbery Squad, right? And that's a group of police in Nigeria. Reason why there's protests right now is because that organization or that piece of police, they were corrupt in the sense that they were robbing other Nigerians, taking away like their phones, taking like their iPods, killing them, like basically running around like organized crime. And in a lot of ways, we can be sympathetic to that here in America. Some of the questions that I've heard brought up in conversations that I've been having in social media about this or with close friends is, and I think this speaks to like some of the divisiveness we see as black people or within the culture. There are some folks like, well, you know, why should we even worry about standing in solidarity with Nigerians? Are Nigerians standing in solidarity with us here? Right? That's been a question that's been asked. Some people say like, well, you know, I don't see any of the other African countries or nations like standing in solidarity with America. Or sometimes when they're here in the country, I don't always feel like they stand in solidarity for my needs. I know of a story where a young lady said she was being insulted and literally almost accosted by a couple I think these are at Macy's changing room, and she said there were two other women there, women of color. She said they just happened to be of some kind of African descent. She could tell from the accent. And she's like, those women in that moment didn't stand up and say, hey, stand up for the other woman. Not that it shouldn't matter if she's a black woman, white woman, whatever, but they didn't stand up for another woman. So then, sometimes people feel kind of like, well, where were you all this time when this was happening and this was happening? Mm-hmm. So why should I stand up for your need? I would say this. I think we all need to find ways to come together. Martin Luther King said it best. An injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere, right? So if there's police brutality...
Injustice. There you go.
Yeah, injustice. And injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere, right? Did I say that right? Yeah. Injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere.
I think that's the email.
Yeah.
Is that McKinney? Christopher McKinney?
Yo, what's good, Chris? So
my thing is the black diaspora is the black diaspora. So if people in Nigeria are suffering, I think that I should stand in solidarity with them. If people in the UK are suffering who are black, I'm going to stand in solidarity with them. Now, with that being said, hear me clear to those who are part of the black diaspora. Hear me clear. With that being said, black liberation is rooted and starts with black African Americans. Period, point blank. When black African Americans are truly liberated and have true equality, we can do powerful things for the black diaspora. We have the funding. Black Americans have the funding to go to any country, whether it's Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, the UK, Canada, whatever, to really create communities of wealth. So it behooves...
Joe, what's up?
It behooves Africans or anybody in the black diaspora to support black Americans, because we are the ones that are going to help liberate the black diaspora. I think SARS is important because at the end of the day, these are our brothers and sisters. Mm-hmm. I just don't like the divisiveness that when you come into this country, you think that, well, I ain't no black American. That's the Negroes got the problem with the police. I don't got that problem. I live in my little African neighborhood.
I think this would be the perfect exercise for us to show true sympathy and empathy towards one another and start seeing how the world is much smaller. Because you got to think, we have people of color, Muslims, that are going through the same persecution right now in France. Mm-hmm. We know that right now in Jerusalem, right? They're dealing with the same thing. There are people there who are marginalized, who don't have the same access to power and the needs just because of their faith, right? And I think there's a similarity in these various injustices, and we have to see that we have to fight all of it. I think sometimes there's going to be a mission for some that focus more so, or a pointed mission, meaning you may not worry about what the whole nation is doing. You may just be worried about, the city of Akron or Cleveland. Some people might say, well, you know what? I'm worried about all of Tennessee, so I'm fighting for all of Tennessee. And some people have a national mission. They're like, I'm trying to do things at the national level, like the Tamika Marwis and Masai Lennons. And then some people have a global view, but like Obama just being elected, and now what he's doing with his nonprofit organization has a national scope. And I think what we got to realize is that some people have so much territory that they're going to be in charge over. One person may just take care of the street, the next one a community, nation, so forth, so on, right? And then some people will be able to bridge things together and have collaboration. But I think even if my mission only covers the city of Baltimore or the city of DC, it doesn't mean that I'm not concerned about what's going on in Nigeria. It's just that the scope of my mission is focused here, but it doesn't mean that I don't send prayers, or if I know somebody who's doing a thing specifically for Nigeria or has that national scope, that I won't, well, let me send some money to that to support that, or let me at least highlight this person and tell people, hey, look, if you want to know more about SARS, you should talk to this individual. Right? Yeah, shout out to Wale, who's Nigerian. Shout out to Yvonne Orji, who's Nigerian. And they both have spoken out on SARS and...
Wale is Nigerian?
Yeah.
You mean Wale from DC?
Yeah.
Both parents Nigerian?
His name is Wale. I mean, where do you think that came from?
Wow.
Yeah, so anyways...
I thought Wale was just a regular DC dude. Like, I didn't know.
So anyways, but shout out...
Nigerian? Wow.
Yeah, but like, shout out to him. Shout out to Rotimi. He's also Nigerian.
I knew that.
So shout out to these individuals who are in America. They've adopted American culture, but at the same time, they stand tall with things going on here that maybe primarily concern African Americans.
What is?
Oh, he just tagged some other people onto the post.
Oh, okay. One thing I want to say before we go, I get it, but back to our original point as to how we even got on this topic, I don't think celebrities should be bullied into posting or acting like they are an activist when they're not.
Yeah, because some of them just don't have the knowledge. Like,
Well,
even I don't know all the specifics of SARS, so I'm not going to go out my way to say certain things about it, because I may say something that's wrong. Now, I do have some Nigerian friends, shout out to him.
Well, that's what happened to even Marcel. She posted about SARS and by accident used the wrong flag, and everybody in her
jumped down her throat, and she was... But the intention was...
Yeah, they were like,
I understand what you're going
wrong
for.
flag,
Yeah.
wrong flag. She was like, my bad, she need to change it. The point I'm trying to make is that you don't know what's going on in the celebrity's mind. Like, what if they're doing an abstinence from social media? Like, what if they feel like I need to cleanse myself from social media? We do it all the time. Mm-hmm. Are you saying that if I do an abstinence, I am a terrible person because I don't speak out and post when you want me to post and placate you?
And then also just sometimes... You just may not... There's a new thing going on like every day.
Right.
And it's hard for you to know about blockchain and cryptocurrency. Then also know about what's going on in the presidential election and all the various exchanges and interactions that come as a result of that. Who's really guilty of dealing with Russia? Are these countries really attacking our democracy? Which the FBI and all of the intelligence community is saying, yes, they are. I would take them as the experts and go with what they have to say, right? We're in the middle of a global pandemic.
Global.
Right? A global pandemic. So, and then we still have our jobs, we have our families, we have our own stuff that we deal with. There's a lot of different things to take on. And imagine if you're doing something to a high level, meaning you've reached a certain level of corporate America, reached a certain level of leadership at your job, or if you're a celebrity, meaning you reach a certain level of expertise or success in your field, that you're a celebrity now. How do you manage all these different topics and know how to speak on them? Sometimes the best thing you can do is, I'm going to quietly support, maybe I'll donate some money. You may not have the bandwidth or the knowledge to properly speak on it without making a fool of yourself, or people at least not even appreciating your sympathy or you wishing well to them.
Yeah, you're
like it did even Marcel.
Elise Seth said everyone should be able to support the causes they personally want to support.
Sure.
Herman said, hey Katrina, agree with you to a point. Can we as African Americans be more influential when it comes to Africa as a whole, politically and culturally, etc.?
I think there is room for opportunity there.
I think so, because my understanding is that more African Americans have been going to Ghana, buying homes, and they're doing well. Like it's called there's like a real program or a real
a lot of countries like Benin and Togo, Ghana, Sierra Leone, they have programs for African Americans. Liberia, they have programs for African Americans when we come over there to set up business and do things the same way. Immigrants also benefit coming into America.
Like Chinese. The Chinese go to Jamaica, Africa.
Yeah, so I think something that we can do is it's like multiple things we can do at one time. And this goes back to what I said. Some people are going to have a smaller, maybe communal reach. Some people may have an international reach. And I think if you have enough exposure to think internationally, you should act on it. So if you know, like, man, I could go to Jamaica, or I could go to somewhere else in the Caribbean, or if I could go to one of these countries in Africa and say, hey, look, I could do business here in Nigeria, or I could do business here in Angola, or I could do business here in Kenya, I think you should take advantage of that, because while there may be a glass ceiling here for you in America or other Western countries or civilizations or Europe or what have you, that opportunity or that glass ceiling may not exist if you go to Kenya. I mean, if you think about Akon, he got involved in an industry that we start wars over, and that's electricity, right? And he's become a baron, if you will, in electricity and lighting in Africa. That's a business he wouldn't be able to touch here in America. That's a business he can't touch in Canada. He can't touch in France. He can't touch in Italy. But he could go to Sierra Leone and infiltrate that kind of industry. You can be a telemarketing or a telecommunications giant in Africa with what you know by working for one of the large four here in America.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So sometimes it's, okay, I can complain all day about the situation, or I can look at meeting with my brothers and sisters in Africa and see an opportunity, and I can do something that they won't allow me at the table here, but I can create multiple tables, a whole darn living room if I go to Africa.
Can I say one thing? Because I know we're getting ready to
Yeah,
close.
we're about to run
I
out of time.
know. But do you realize SARS is rooted in their interpretation of having wealth and having more, which is rooted in capitalism?
Yeah.
Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, you can go over there, but the reality is the community that we need to move ahead economically, politically from the African diaspora, I don't think we're capable of getting, because we see white people saying me first, and me first is a global message. That's just what it is. It's me first always. It's the rich get richer. This is the thing is, I'm not gonna help that poor person.
And you know what? And that's a whole
first is a global conversation.
And that's a whole other conversation we need to have about capitalism versus socialism, and what does that really mean today, right? There's always like a definition, but then there's always a breakdown of what that definition really means, and then there's the interpretation or the perception of what I think that means. We hear socialist now, and people think it means pro-Russia, right, or pro-China. Yeah, because these are like basically socialist countries. But then, but what they don't realize is it was socialist programs or social programs that got us out of the Depression and helped us during World War II. It's the reason why FDR was elected 4 times.
Wow.
Right? Because he created Social Security.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That was created by the FDR administration, right? TVA, which a lot of Tennessee people benefit from, and all the building of the dams and the electricity that comes from that was created during the Roosevelt administration, right? These were social programs designated to help the elderly and those that didn't have the finances to care for themselves.
Come on and drop the nuggets.
All right? So when we say socialism, is it always a bad word? Like I said, I think that's a conversation for another Nitty Gritty show, but it's something to think about, right? So anyways, I got some shout outs. While we're doing our shout outs, I'll go ahead and get some background music playing. This is this is Alicia Keys. The dope thing is the song is called Jill Scott, and it's featuring Jill Scott.
Oh, and Welfare.
Oh yeah, and Welfare. That's right, created by the FDR administration. So, but yeah, this is Alicia Keys. The song is called Jill Scott. It features Jill Scott off Alicia's self-titled album, Alicia. That came out this year. If you haven't heard Alicia's album, it's actually pretty dope. She got a lot of dope people on there, from Miguel to Khalid to Snow Alagra to Jill Scott. So this is a dope song. I'll let this play in the background. I'm going through some of these shout outs. So anyways, I want to do some birthday shout outs. Shout out to Zion DaCosta, my nephew. Shout out to my little sister Angela DaCosta. They have birthdays. Zion's birthday is today. Angela's birthday is the 28th, so that's like in a few more days. Shout out to my cousin Tamara Whitaker. Shout out to my homie Dave Green, living out there in Florida. Shout out to my auntie Karen Gibbs. Her birthday just passed. And also today is Sandra Scott's birthday. Yeah, shout out Sandra. That's the wife of my best friend Jerome. And also we got an anniversary I want to shout out. Shout out to Pastor Matthew Watley and Shauna Watley. They're celebrating their anniversary just recently. So yeah, just wanted to shout those things out. And then shout out to all of you who tuned in faithfully, who continue to support the Nitty Gritty Show and have these, what would be dinner table conversations with us for everyone else to chime in on. So hopefully we can educate and do our part to influence good things to our community.
Yeah, but Beyonce can't be the only one.
Yeah. No, Beyonce can't be the only one. I think it takes everybody, and I just think really, don't focus on what a celebrity can do. Focus on what you can do.
Yeah, that's
good. You can vote.
You can contact your congressman. You can contact your councilman.
Yeah, you can create programs locally to support any.
You can use your platform to talk about SARS.
Yeah, and let's say if you don't feel like you have enough to do anything, there's so many organizations to join. There's Urban League, there's the NAACP, there's organizations out there to support SARS. Your church typically has food drives. There are so many ways for you to get involved. The Word of God does say that the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few.
That's
right?
That's true.
Can you add to the number of laborers? That will be my challenge to you. All right, look, we guys are about to be out of here. Thank you guys for joining. Once again, it's the Nitty Gritty Show. It's your boy Jay DaCosta.
It is your girl Kat.
And together we are the Nitty Gritty. Hey, we out of here, y'all. Love you. We had a good time, and we'll see you guys next Sunday where we'll dig into it. It'll be our last conversation about hardcore politics. We got a whole lot of relationship topics we want to get on, and we're going to definitely talk about that. So, Isaac, we about to sign out. Man, we out, everybody. It's been a pleasure. Nitty gritty.